We'll do this. I haven't done this before. I'd like to call the August 1st meeting, work section to get to order. Please stand for flag salute, a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Dr. Baldino.
Here.
Mr. Cannon. Ms. Donahue. Mr. Elling.
Present.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Knopf.
Here.
Ms. Lynch.
Here.
Mr. Scott.
Here.
Ms. Smith. Six present.
Present. Okay. We have no one signed up. Oh, no, we have no presentations. I'm sorry. We have no one signed up for. No one signed up. Next, we'll go right down to D, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Redmond?
There is so much work happening right now across the district. So Liberty Curtain is moving along. They poured the last of the floor concrete last week. Most of the cinder block walls are up. They're working on the domestic water piping and the drain piping and the electrical. There's so many things happening there. It's just amazing the progress that they're making. At the same time, we're paying out, as you do with construction projects, as things go along. And if you recall, the plan was to take out a first bond for 9.5 million. And then when the time came to take out the second bond for 9.5 million, that time is coming up. You'll hear more about that from Joni in the September meetings, but I want to kind of put it on your radar that we're getting close to that time. I want to introduce you all to Sam Hoy. He is my recommendation for the facilities property services manager. Thanks, Sam, for coming in today. There's lots of work waiting for you, and people would love for you to get started. Another part of the work that's happening is the rooftop units at the high school. You remember that we have had in our possession some of the HVAC air handler units that have been sitting over at property services. This week, starting today, they're going to start putting them on top of the roof right over here. So the custodians and Bob Pellicor has been doing a great job leading the custodians over the summer. They were able to shift their work around and get all of the cleaning done over there in the A wing so that they could block the whole thing off while they're doing the critical lifts of that machinery up on the rooftop. So great job to Bob and his team for keeping up on all the cleaning things across the district to get the schools ready for students and to kind of make adjustments as they go along to keep the work happening. Same time, the canopy at the middle school is about halfway down. They were working on that today. The asbestos abatement was last week. They should have the canopy down by the end of tomorrow, according to Harlan. And then it's taking the posts out and doing the patching in the concrete, and then putting a metal piece over where the canopy used to attach to the school. So hopefully we'll have all of that wrapped up by the end of next week and plenty of time for staff and students to return. Brick wall up at Bucktail is underway as well. That work is happening fast. They had most of the brick out and off yesterday or the day before. So again, it should take another week or so to get all that cleared out and then the new brick put back in. So I really appreciate the work that Harlan has done working with the contractors to get all of that stuff done. Harlan's done a great job with that, as well as the bleachers over at the field are out now. So he's been doing a great job coordinating things while Rob has been gone. Sheldon Gray has also been doing a great job keeping up the electrical side of things. So there's controls work at Mill Hall that is going on. He's also helping the contractors out doing the controls work here with the new HVAC system. So again, a ton of work that's happening to prepare for students and staff to come back. On that note, staff is coming back. Some on the 19th, some teachers working in the special education area are coming back on the 19th. Some are coming back on the 20th and the 21st for new staff. And then our whole staff comes back on August 22nd, and we're having a big back to school welcome. We want to create a lot of excitement about welcoming the folks back, getting started on a new school year. And we've adopted the motto of creating moments that matter. So our goal is to think about and be really intentional about the interactions that all of our staff have with students with the intent of having moments that matter for the kids. It'd be great if the board could come to some or part or all of that day on the 22nd in the morning when we're doing that celebration. It's going to be a breakfast. It's going to be fanfare and bands and cheerleaders and the whole 9 yards.
We put that out in an email to
That would
August
be
Yeah,
awesome.
22nd.
I'll get
When you want
yep.
us to show up?
I'll do that. I'll get a more detailed schedule out to you in the coming weeks.
That's great.
August 22nd.
August 22nd.
Mhm. That would be fun.
And that's what I have.
Well, thank you. We didn't have any committee meetings, so we have no committee reports. We'll move right down to F. Reports for information, treasurer's report. Any questions on the treasurer's report? Two, financial reports. F3, enrollment. Any questions on the enrollment? Moving right down to G, the board itself. The PSBA School Leadership Conference for 2024. I think everyone should-
Yeah, everyone has one of these papers in front of them. If you would like to go, please sign on that. A side note, right now, the board has budgeted $3,500 to support going to the conference. As you can see on there, it's about $1,050 for each board member to go.
Is
So-
that Zoom capable?
No.
No,
It's
it's
not.
in person.
Okay,
May I-
It's actually a really good
I
thing to go to.
I can't go out there to that, not overnight.
I was telling Dr. Em, I haven't gone in quite a few years, but I know when I went, it was a very, very good event. And there's a lot of breakout sessions that you can learn a lot of information. I think Elizabeth, you were there last year, there's a lot of breakout stuff, you can get a lot of information. A lot of networking that you can do. There's usually places set up where you can see other schools, what they're doing and how they're doing things. It's a pretty good event. And if,
Just bring some
I-
info back for me, that's all.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yes, Rick Schultz and I went, and Roger, you were there.
Mhm.
I will say this, some of the presenters were fabulous and I learned a lot, but I will say this. It's very difficult if only one person, I'm not gonna go because I felt it was a privilege. I went last year, okay? So I'm not gonna take the money this year, but I will say this, the breakout sessions, this was my only, I'll say complaint about the system is they have so many vendors there, and I understand that why they have all the vendors there, and I'm not saying anything bad about the vendors. But what it does is when they have some of those sessions is instead of repeating some of the sessions that we went for, they would have them one time. So I've gone to other conferences where if you wanted to still go to that same presenter, they also did it the next day. So if you didn't get that one presenter when you had a list of 3 or 4 to choose from, you missed out on it and they didn't record them. So you couldn't, even if you paid, you couldn't go back and watch them. So that was very difficult. If only one person goes, you miss so much, but it's very expensive. So that's why I requested last year that we look for grant money to support it. So hopefully next year, if we have maybe 3 board members go or 3 representatives go, it's far more worthwhile because you get to cover those little time slots that they have for those speakers. So,
yeah, there's a lot of breakouts you can attend and you have to strategically plan what your day is going to be. But
right,
It's good. So, but yeah, I'd like to see if a couple board members would like to go.
Do you have a sense for if Tom, Polly, or Tracy would want to go?
I have no clue.
I know Tracy's gone before. Oh, I'm willing to go.
Oh.
I find it really informative when we go.
Christine
Okay.
and I can reach out to Tom.
Yeah, we can
and
reach
Polly
out and
Tracy
find
see
out
if any of those-
Who's interested in?
So Roger, you want to go? Is anybody
Yes.
else sitting here want to go for that
I
conference?
may, I have to
Yeah, I'm not
change
available.
another appointment.
Okay, would you let me and Christine know as soon as you know, and then that'll,
So
I'm
you
assuming
voted on-
that the board wants to limit it to 3 people because of the way it's budgeted. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, it would be nice, yeah, to have different people
Mhm.
go. It is,
yes.
you know,
Okay,
So for Roger and Bill, if you would fill out that form, and if you can't go, just let us know, but just to start the process going. It's just, you just have to put your name on the
Yep.
bottom of that. form.
next up, the G2 student handbook. Any questions on the handbooks? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I'm not on the curriculum committee anymore, so I did the curriculum committee go over this year? Roger, or
No, it didn't, does it normally?
we did last time? Okay, that's, okay. Well, the only thing, I didn't write in here, but I thought they did, as usual, any changes, she does they do a beautiful job. They just changed the colors. You know, we're not reinventing the wheel here. So it's fabulous. The only comment I have is when they list the safe to say, which is fabulous, and if you search it, you'll find where it says safe to say with the definition. I would really like everyone to consider to also add the whistleblower policy, because citizens that have come up to me and talked to me, they've never heard of, they're unfamiliar with they're more familiar with safe to say. But whistleblower policy, they're not.
Elizabeth, can
So-
I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
Whistleblower is more for employees, isn't it?
It's for anybody.
But this is a student handbook. I don't know how's it? I don't know. I'm asking you.
Well, that's why just to consider it, look into it and see if that would be appropriate.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought it was more for employees than
It's-
students.
It's for whoever wants to stay anonymous. Safe to say is a great program too.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
didn't know.
it's a little bit different.
Oh, you have a comment or something?
Yeah, I wonder is there anybody, has anybody ever gathered any data on how many students actually read this?
There,
I don't hear a lot of shout.
Deb, do you want to talk a little bit about how it's presented in the high school?
Sure. We do not have specific data on how many people have accessed it. However, it is shared on all teachers' Schoology pages. Each school year, their Schoology page is the learning access system that we use at the high school. So every student logs into Schoology to get all of their class assignments, see anything that they might have missed when they were absent. It's a messaging system where teachers can message the students. So it is a website that the students access on a daily basis. The student handbook is also posted on the Central Mountain High School website. At the beginning of each school year, we gather all of the students together by grade level and go through the changes to the handbook with them. And then we highlight some of the most I don't want to say important policies, but the policies that come up most frequently, such as the cell phone policy, the dress code policy. Those are all things that are frequent occurrences. So we highlight those as well as anything in there that has changed over the summer in the updated handbook. So it's on the district website. We share it with parents on our Class Dojo page. And it's also in Schoology. So there are 3 different access points for that handbook.
Great. So it's in a lot of places, but it doesn't, my point is, my head was spinning when I finished reading that.
It's a lot of different.
I got to question whether something that was much simpler might actually be useful. I have a feeling this is not at all useful.
Well, and so I
Yeah.
think this is why,
Mhm.
as Deb mentioned, she kind of distills it and talks about the things that
Well, that,
the most frequent, because these are all things that have to get relayed to students
Yeah.
in some way, shape or form. They have to have access to this information, a lot of it by law. And,
Yep.
and so they have to have access to it. There's no real way we can guarantee everybody reads every word. So I want to give an opportunity for elementary school, Tyler, and maybe Ryan at the middle school, and Jim up at Bucktail. If you have anything that you want to add to how the student handbooks are shared with students.
Or used. Whatever.
Similarly to what Deb had mentioned at the high school level, the key components are shared with our students, but the student handbook at the elementary level is essentially a guide for parents as well. So they understand what policies and expectations are in place for our students at the elementary level. Clearly, I don't anticipate that our kindergarten, first, second, and third graders read the student handbook. So at the elementary level, it's more integrated into our PBIS programs where the school-wide expectations are explicitly stated across all environments through our 4Bs. So that's how we convey that at the elementary level. But there is a series of sign-offs at the beginning of the year that parents sign off on, saying that they have received this. Technically, they have read it, but again, to actually validate that they have read it word for word, I do not have any data for that. But the parents do sign off on the student handbook at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, just to follow up with what Deb and Tyler had said, it's a similar process. At the beginning of the year, there are assemblies. We go over any changes to the rule books and things we want to highlight, but you are correct. There's no way we can actually verify who has not read it. It is it's accessible via Schoology, our website, and but I don't have any way to track the data of who actually reads it.
Yeah, at Central Mountain Middle School, we do all basically the similar things, that assembly, that frequent flyer policies with our kids. Big part of it's that PBIS and there's expectation, but more importantly, what I feel why the handbook is relevant is because it's a place that we can point parents where they might not necessarily read it verbatim, but if parents have questions on our attendance policies, like we can say, hey, this is in our handbook, it's on page 23. I can just even send them a screenshot of that page, for example. So again, it's just that resource for families when they have specific questions on different areas. It's a place for them to be informed, and then we can easily point them and provide that information for them.
So it's essentially a reference material more than it is something that we expect everyone to read word for word, front cover to cover.
And like you said, the parents have to sign off. So it falls back on it.
You put any apps on your phone?
All right.
All right. Anybody ever read the terms and conditions? You know?
Once. Once.
Okay. I'm just suggesting that if it can be made simpler and shorter, it might be more useful. And I mean, a way to make it simpler and shorter, 3 people talked about the high points. If you're going over the high points, why not put all the rest of the stuff someplace else and provide references for that when necessary, and just maybe encourage them to actually read the high points and understand it. Maybe even the parents would do that.
I do see Bill's point. And I remember when this was first developed, we're not still printing these, are we? I mean, we got away from that. So maybe next year, I don't know. It's up to the committee, up to the administration, the team that works on this, maybe have a hybrid to consider where you just have highlights and then just do what every other website does. You know, you got 3 minutes of someone's attention and that's it. Just have links. And of course, you always have to make sure those links aren't broken. It's another thing that has to be managed, but I do see your point. I mean, instead of having so much text, there could be 2 options. 1, the full text, and then 2, the summary with links to take you to those particular pages.
Kind of like a Cliff Note version.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
you know, it is adding another layer of responsibility and jobs and, you know, but it is true. It's very true that you have 3 minutes of someone's attention if you're lucky.
Well, maybe that's something we look at for the future, maybe condensing some parts of it. I think we still have to maintain the entire
full-
handbook,
Sure.
but maybe condensing it and have a shorter version.
It wouldn't be too difficult to take right now to PDF on our website. There should be a way to change that into, so it has hyperlinks on there too, so that they can jump to the spot.
Okay, anything else on the handbooks?
No, but thank you all for working on it and we'll see.
Moving right along, H1. Any questions on the July 11th work session minutes?
Yes, I do actually.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I wouldn't bring this to anyone's attention except that I just would like some text clarified, please. On the July 11th work session, under G1, that was with the MOU contract for a staff member that you know, is obtaining his teaching certificate, which I stated I fully support any training or enhancements for our staff. But I think one of my major points was, and I would like this reflected in the minutes, was that I had asked the question to expand on when I stated, is there anything in the contract about retaining employees after completion? And then I followed that up saying, once this individual is trained, this is a highly needed job employee. And my question was, is there anything in the union contract that ensures that this employee is going to be with us for a while? Well, unless, you know, he or she has to pay back the money. And I believe Dr. Redmond said the contract currently says 1 year. So what that says is the district is paying for this person's education. And then after 1 year, that person is no longer obligated to pay back the money if that individual decides to leave Keystone and go somewhere else.
It's a little more nuanced, but it's actually 2 years. They have to pay back 100% 1 year, 50%.
Well, that would be great if it could say that in the minutes, because my whole thing is I believe it should be 5. And that's what I believe Butch.
That's a contract issue. at
No, I
this
know,
point,
I know.
but-
That's what I believe Butch then stated. Now I'm just going by memory here. So that's what I believe Butch said. Yes, when the next contract comes up, we'll look into that. So I feel it's very important to have that in the
It's-
minutes.
Contractually, right now, we can't do anything about it.
Absolutely, but it just came to
Yeah, I
light.
thought it was, the MOU was for uncompensated leave. So,
Yes.
So if that could be modified to reflect that. And then also under L1,
So I'm sorry,
Oh.
because I want to make sure that
Sure.
we know exactly what you want written. Maybe it'd be helpful if you could send myself and
sure, Christine, yes.
just a note of how you want that changed.
That would be lovely. I appreciate that because who knows who's going to be here when those contract negotiations come up.
Thank you.
Oh, and under L1, same work session minutes, and I can also add this, but just so I could have a moment to explain, I'd appreciate it. It says Miss Lynch questioned the Clay Target League and not having enough hours. That doesn't read the way that I tried to express it, so I'd like some clarification on that.
Okay.
What I did is I asked, what does, quote, from the column titled 23-24 amount, what does not enough hours mean? And then someone, and I'm sorry, I don't remember, someone responded that it means that whoever is the leader of that particular club, they did not do enough hours. So I just want to make sure that I'm not pointing a finger at the Clay targeting. I was just asking a
You're
question.
asking clarification about the what it stated on the
Right.
on the athletic agenda
Right.
about not enough hours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I will do that tomorrow morning, I promise.
Thank you.
anything else in the work session?
Otherwise, it was very well done.
Okay, moving to the July 18th voting meeting minutes. Any questions on that?
Yes. On
Okay.
page 1, if you go down under
Just a second, bring it up. Page 1.
page 1, when you go down under where the roll call was done, the third thing down said Mr. Scaff motion to approve adding of agenda item J20. I think Mr. Johnson would rather be Mr. than Mrs.
But it's up to you, Jeff. And we don't,
Yeah,
we don't,
Feeling
How you
your
feeling
call.
today?
We don't judge.
no, we don't.
No comment.
Well, what would you prefer?
Yeah. That's just,
Yeah.
I think it was just a keystroke, but
okay. That's what we think. Elizabeth, you have anything else?
That's it.
Elizabeth, you had something on there?
Thanks, Chris. That was,
Elizabeth, you had
we
something on
needed a
there?
laugh. Yes, J18.
J18.
All right, I'll scroll to the page. Just give me a moment, please. So I make sure I get it right. Oh, okay. J18, there's a couple of things.
You're talking about the Nittany Learning Service?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you. when my comment is Ms. Lynch would like insight on how other school districts are implementing the program in-house. We can consider networking with other districts to learn the approach, try to implement, but I think the key part of what I stated, I would like included is that I asked if any other board members didn't like the idea that we can start having presentations to the full school board from these in-house programs. And I have gone ahead and I have printed it out from the Pennsylvania Education website of all the school districts in Pennsylvania that have in-house programs. And this will give administration and the president plenty of opportunities to find multiple in-house programs so we can get presentations. So we are ready to go if we want to. At least we'll be informed
Hand
for
me one.
next year.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Hand me one.
Oh, sorry. Right. I'm sorry. So that was, I would like the minutes and I can also put that in the email. But that was the key part, to start with the presentations. If we could start next month, that would be lovely. We have lots, you could just zoom in. You don't want to, so that was critically important. And then I did have a question,
So what do you need fixed on the agenda? Are they,
the
they have
minutes, that
changed?
my comment was that we start, asked the board if anyone was, did not like the idea of having presenters come to us who have these in-house programs, so we can do a Q&A, a question and answer, find out what works, why they did it, how much it costs, maybe a 15-minute presentation Q&A. So that's really important that we get presentation, the word presentations in there to the full board. So that was it, and I can put that in the email also. And then my other one that I'm a little bit confused. When I first printed out this list to myself, it was probably 3 months ago when the Nittany Learning Services first came up. But then I thought, well, I'll go on their page today and just get the current list in case if anything changed. I wanted to give you the most current information. And then I noticed, if you look at page 2 in red, it says Nittany Learning Services, Clinton County AED program at Central Mountain High School. Now,
Yeah,
that wasn't on the list when I originally researched
it did
this.
say that.
So, I mean, we were very adamant that we did not want to lease space from the CTC program when Dr. Martin was really recommending that we move in that direction. So I am concerned about that. And if that has changed, we need to know ASAP because I am not going to support that.
I would not start an AED-wide program without a significant conversation with the board.
I know you wouldn't, but
No one
why
else
is it, why is it on the Pennsylvania Departments of Education page? I
Yeah,
mean, who
yeah.
put that there?
Good question.
No, no, it wasn't. I
Well-
don't think anybody on my team did that.
Question would be, how updated is this list?
It
Because,
changed from the first time, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, I apologize.
yeah, because I mean, honestly, like, I see some other things on here that are probably errors as well, and it would be interesting to check with the Department of Ed to see the accuracy of this, because they have turnover down there pretty significantly, and so the
Yes.
people that are checking these lists and updating, because I mean, as Dr. Redmond said, we do not have a program that's at Central Mountain High School. So,
Yeah, my question is, like, there's even a question mark after, like, they don't even know.
no, that's what I'm saying, like, the idea of the fact that they don't even have somebody that calls and check up on these kind of
Yeah,
things,
they
so
could-
it's
They could put a question mark in there, they could.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it's just more the accuracy of what they're putting into the program.
That's why it's in brackets. That means it wasn't part of the original document. When you do a bracket,
We do not have a
Okay.
program here, so.
Okay.
As Dr. Sangera is saying, it could be someone who's going off of memory and thinking, oh, I think that
sure.
Keystone Central used to have one. That must be wrong and putting it in there without checking.
Okay, well, it wasn't there the first time I looked at it. That's all I'm saying. It's new. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. So you're gonna take care of emailing your concerns.
Yes, sir.
These will be updated for next week, so we vote on it, they'll reflect all the changes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right down to I business, bills for payment. Any questions on our bills?
I got a couple.
Go ahead,
So,
Chris.
If it's okay if I make a comment real quick. So I want to say thank you to Joni and her team. They spent quite a few hours in kind of reorganizing this
Mhm.
per the board's request so that it's separated by area. So thank you, Joni, and for all the work that you and Christie did to reorganize this and the Liberty Curtain report.
That was the first thing I was gonna say is I see they made a significant difference in how it's reported. And I'm good about that. I do have some questions further down, but I wrote down a few things here that I just want to ask her about. On page 4,
Which one are you looking at? I'm sorry, Chris, which one?
bills for payment.
Bills
page
for
4.
payment, okay.
Elizabeth, I got this. I was gonna ask.
There's
Oh.
2 entries for child support,
I'm sorry,
I'm
what
sorry, you
page?
said page 4.
page 4. There's 2 entries for child support.
Um, What,
Oh, I see. About 2/3 of the way down.
Yeah, 693.96.
They are
Hey,
wage detachments
Okay, that's
taken
what I
right
was
off
wondering.
yes, we are required to deduct those amounts.
Right. And then also,
So it's money, not money we're spending, it's money we're.
We're withholding it,
Withholding it from
deducting it off the employee's
someone that's not paying
paycheck
tax.
and then submitting it to the appropriate
I
agency.
figured that would be like in a payroll thing and we wouldn't even see that. That's why I'm asking.
Okay.
Same page, enterprise fleet, 16,978.45 a month. How many vehicles is that?
I would have to look off the top. I don't know off the top of my head. Christie, do you know? 23 vehicles. We, that's the enterprise. We have an agreement with them.
Right.
We have for, I think, the past 4 or 5 years, and we rotate out
Okay.
those cars every 4 or 5 years.
I was curious because it's one I've not paid attention to before.
Yeah, it has our SRO vehicles are on there all but one, although that one's changing out so that we are gonna go into them. All of our fleet vehicles, our maintenance vehicles, our delivery vans,
Everything.
everything, all of that stuff is,
So we're leasing all our vehicles.
I don't know if it's all, but it's the
Majority.
majority of them.
Okay. That was something I didn't know, and that was something I wanted to ask. And then on the same page down, there was a entry for First National Bank for a credit card for a little over $21,000
That's just our monthly credit card bill.
for,
Fund 10, accounts payable, credit card bill. That's the actual payment out to Jersey Shore, I'm sorry, to First National Bank. But all those vendors are listed out separately in various line items.
okay. I'm just curious because if somebody looked at it and said, well, what are we spending on the credit card? We have no clue.
So,
It'll be in detail throughout the list of bills.
so does that mean when we look at the total of 2,291, blah, 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 that's been added in twice? You know what I'm saying? If the credit card then is itemized,
No, this is the itemized roll-up list. So if you would have to punch down into the system to get a
Okay.
list of what vendors were under there.
I get.
No, it
Thank
is not, it is not a duplicate entry or counted twice.
I see what you're saying. Yep.
Anything else, Chris?
Yeah. Page 4 and 5, there's 7 entries for frontline placement for $180,000. What is that?
Frontline is one of the pieces of software that we use for a variety of things. Some of it's about our application system for new hires. Some of it is our employee attendance and leave system. You can see over on the right-hand side, it kind
Yeah.
of talks through what all those different systems are that we use Frontline for.
And that would be our annual maintenance fee for all of those programs that we use that for.
I was shaking my head at that.
Software is expensive.
Then on page 5, there's a Foltz Auto Body for van 209 repairs for a little over $3,000. Does the insurance not cover that or? Is that coming out of us or?
We got the deductible of $1,000 paid to us from a school district. So what actually happened was with Van 209 was taken to a conference and another school district backed into that van. Because I'm not exactly sure of the term, but between school districts, there's a mutual agreement that they will pay the deductible, but then our insurance picks up the remainder of the funds.
So that we had to pay a little over 3,000 to fix it then?
We paid 3,000, but we got $1,000 back from that school district.
Okay,
So that just shows the expenditure to the auto body, but on the receivables, you'll see the deductible
right.
come in.
The next one, Joni, is real confusing and I'm hoping you can understand it. It starts on page 6. It goes to page 12, page 15, 17, 19, 20. It's all over the place under Keystone Security. For every school, if you pick one school, there's entries in there for a multitude of other schools. And it's the whole way down through all the different schools that you budgeted out and everything. And like under Rob, there's Bucktail and it's all confusing to read. But then it was all paid by the same check. And then on top of that, it's all different amounts. So I'm curious how that all breaks down because every school has the same amount of listings, the same check number, but all kinds of different amounts.
That's something that we're going to look into
Okay.
because this isn't a canned report. We're not sure where they're all pulling from and why they're pulling the way that they did. So we apologize that that is showing that way. We just couldn't get it fixed to get the list of bills put
Okay,
out in time.
I was just curious to make sure we weren't overpaying stuff because the marbles were rolling trying to read this.
The amounts are correct. We just have to revise how it rolls into this report. So
Okay.
we're working on it, but the amounts are correct. We didn't overpay, we didn't duplicate. Again, this took a lot of back end work to get it.
Is-
It's not, like I said, it's not a canned report. We are creating this from pulling information out from various parts of the software.
Cause there's another one also on page 19 for Liberty Curtain
Mhm.
for
Same-
polished concrete solutions. And then it came up the same thing for Rob.
Yes, same issue. But there, like I said, the amounts are not duplicated. It's how it's rolling up
Okay.
that we are trying. So I didn't want to revise it. We had it done 2 days ago. We are working on fixing it.
Okay,
But what I didn't want to do is, since the amounts weren't incorrect, I didn't want to pull another report on here and confuse you even more. So
okay.
so just know the amounts are correct and we'll figure out how to roll up for next month.
All right. On page 8, under Pyramid School Supplies, there were 2 brooms bought for $512.16. Was that multiple brooms bought or just 2 individual brooms?
It's kind of along the golden toilet seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
$250 a brew.
Yeah, because that really just shocked me, and it didn't say if it was multiple brooms or whatever, but $512 for 2 brooms is, we're shopping at the wrong place.
I'll have to
Bless
look
you.
because the detail I have here, I'll have to just punch down into it and see what detail I get for that.
Okay. And then,
Where was that at, Chris?
I see a broom angle flag polyfill 239.
it was on page 8.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Under pyramid school products.
Yeah,
There's the broom angled poly is 239.04.
yeah.
I think that is for some of our mechanized equipment, our floor sweepers and that sort of thing. So
Okay.
it's not like a hand broom.
Okay,
It's a-
well,
It's a part of one of our kind of our.
that's why I'm
mechanized
asking,
systems.
because it's not clarified.
Yeah.
Oh, it wouldn't be a hand room. It's part of one of the
It's one of the
larger
machines.
machines that we use.
That's fine. I'm asking as a John Q. public looking at it. Page 12, Wyndham Gardens. We paid 5810.52 for a retreat. What was that for? Who went?
That was
and-
our administrative retreat paid for by Title II money, so it didn't come out of
Right.
general fund budget. But it was our end of the year administrators retreat. We spent a lot of time working on data and looking at lots of things about how the school went and then planning for this coming year.
Okay, because I was curious if we would learn what you guys learned in that or whatever.
We could probably come up with a short presentation that kind of an overview of that.
That'd be
but
cool
it's-
so that we know
That would be
what's
interesting.
going on. Nothing, it doesn't have to be crazy.
No, it'd be like a 5-minute overview of what we're doing there. We can come up
Right.
with something like that.
And then the last thing I have, and it's a shame that students aren't here, but the staff is. On page 26, there's an entry for Walker Funeral Home for $4,556.90. I think the 2024 class should be commended for standing up and taking their own money and helping the family out to
Yeah.
do what they do in the worst of times that is imaginable. And I would ask that you folks pass that on.
Yeah.
Because that's just stepping as how high we are.
We did talk about that last month. I think it was last month. or
But
maybe the
seeing
month
it in-
before. We talked, but seeing a figure, because we didn't have
Right.
a figure before, it's just,
That's outstanding.
the class did a marvelous job. I think it shows the type of students we have.
Yep.
So, yes.
For the students to step up and assist the family is just, that's not heard of very often. That's all I have, Butch.
Thank you. Let's see. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you. I want to absolutely thank, just same thing, that we're starting to segregate out the Liberty Curtain project. I don't want to add another layer, but I'll be honest with you. How much information is too much information? I don't know, but when we also have anything that has to do with the solicitor's fees or travel or public notices, I mean, when I talk, how much is it costing the district? I mean, I've been talking everything. Traveling back and forth to the site because you have to meet the contractor. Is that another layer that's going to be a headache? Yes. And I am sorry, it may not sound reasonable, but there are other costs that aren't here yet. So that would be, show the total cost. But I just want to give you a quick example. Bear with me, please. You take out a home equity loan, okay, for $65,000 and you want, that's all you have to spend. And everything, every penny, everything that you do, whether it's picking out a new curtain, a new vanity, everything is coming out of that pool. So that's how you budget. There's other things that we spent money on that are directly associated with the construction project, but they're not here yet. So we're getting there. This is a good start. I want to thank you. I know this is, another layer, but this is my next question. That software that the board approved for the finances, is that, I think it was like a year and a half ago. Are we using that now? The new software that was purchased about a year and a half ago? It was supposed to be able to pull things really quickly and da, 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 da.
I think you mean Forecast 5. And we are using that to do some analytics. We just started using that
Okay,
for this past budget, when we did the budget, and we're rolling it and using it for the audit as well. But I'm not sure if you mean the software that we're looking at for
no,
accounting.
this was the one, I think we purchased it right before you came or right after you came. I don't remember, I'm sorry.
I believe
But I
that's,
remember you kept, there was a learning curve and how to integrate it without crashing and,
I think that's Forecast 5. That does a lot of graphics too. And so we used it for the budget a little bit, but now we're using it more for the audit and we'll roll it out for the new budget this year as well. In that same note, we are also looking at a new software program that will work with kind of in hand with Forecast 5 as well. But we're hoping to get that July 1st of next year. And hopefully we won't have to worry about creating these kind of reports. It'll create them automatically.
Yeah, I mean, this is 2024,
Mhm.
right? That's why I don't want to seem pushy, but the vision is eventually we're going to have the software where it's going to go by schools. We can see how much everything goes. If it's spent on administration, it would go in that category. If it's spent on facilities, it goes in that category. So we're not getting these spreadsheets where there's just lists and lists and lists and lists, and we have really no idea where the money's going. So, I mean, that to me has been the vision for years, and I think we're getting closer. So looking forward to new software. Thank you.
Thanks, Jody. Thanks.
I got one more question.
Go
but
ahead, Jeff. Or, yeah, Chris, I'm sorry.
For the CTC group, they had some Link computers for $19,780. Was that a bunch of computers or just? That's what I was wondering. Okay, for CAD and all of that stuff.
Total CAD lab. And I think
Okay.
it's on the 5-year cycle.
I was
And
just
actually,
wondering.
you're running a lot of programs up there, so you need,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I understood that. I didn't know if we were buying a whole bunch of computers or if we're one program or what.
No, it's there's 23 seats in that lab
Okay.
and everything got updated.
All
Because
right.
it was to the point where it wasn't gonna run.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Great
Thanks.
job.
And just out of curiosity, not that it, was this, you write your group writes so many grants?
That one's not eligible for some of the money I apply for.
Okay, fair enough.
So that one usually everywhere I've done CTC, it's usually locally funded.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Cool.
Thanks for
All right.
everything. Appreciate
Moving
it.
right down to B2, the Link Computer Corporation. Any questions on that?
Could someone just explain what it is, please?
I'm looking at that again.
Is this something that we
From what?
do every year, or is this something new? Is this?
This
just a-
looked like it was an update to a core project. That's what I read out of it.
I believe it looks like it deals with the
Oh,
IT
Jeremy
Cisco
Yeah.
Corporation.
That's what I got out of it.
Sorry, what was the question?
Can you explain what the Link contract is, please?
The Link contract? Or what's the title?
The Network Core Replacement Project, it's the Link
Ah,
Computer Corporation.
yes, that is to replace our core networking system that runs the entire district. It's replacing our 6509 Cisco, which was end of life about 3 years ago, and it's going to be end of maintenance support this year and then end of security support next year. So we had to get that replaced. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to update it. It's not a yearly thing. I think the last time it was bought was in like 2012. So we should probably get about 10, 15 years out of this one. But, I'd give the conservative like 8 years of service out of the new one.
Is this gonna help all the schools, or is this just for the high school? Or I understand this is a mainframe. Just if you could just let us know, is this?
Yeah, it's necessary for the networking between all schools.
Okay, that's what, okay.
Any other questions?
I just had one quick
Go ahead,
question.
Elizabeth.
Mill Hall Borough, we've had, what do you call it? What do you call that?
Oh,
When, high-speed internet, fiber optics. Ugh, woo. Fiber optics, it's been laid for years and years and years. We all know it's just sitting there. The borough right now is looking at options to finally get it up and running, which would help the borough and Bald Eagle Township, portions of Bald Eagle. Well, here's my question. If the borough gets to that point where it's gonna be an option. This system makes no difference if it's landline or if it's fiber optics, correct?
I'm not sure I understand the question. So the current system, we lease fiber between the buildings from Comcast. They're end-to-end connections, but they're actually routed through Comcast. And then our internet is through Zito, and it's a direct fiber connection.
Okay.
I know that there's projects all around the area that have dark fiber, which is, I think, what you're alluding to, but
Yeah.
it always depends on where it runs from and where it runs to, and then anything in between. So if they have dark fiber that needs to be lit, and if it's like between us and Liberty Curtain, that'd be great. But if it's 1 mile away from us, you could be talking at $50,000. If it's 2 miles away from us, 100.
Sure.
Depends on how you actually lash into that fiber. So
Okay, well, here, oh, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
let me rephrase the question. If the higher grade fiber optics is made available sometime in the future while this is operational, it will be compatible, right?
it can be, yeah.
Sure, that's it. Good. Thank you, Jeremy.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jeremy. Okay. Next up is Lycoming Clinton County Board Agreement or Joinder Board Agreement. Any questions on that?
This is just the same as last year, correct? That's-
Yes, we've been doing this for years.
Yep,
It's
yep.
very- Go ahead, Bill.
Could you explain to me
Oh,
what this
right,
is again?
sorry.
I know I tried the other day and I still don't understand it.
Who would like to do it?
Would be best to explain anyone want to take on the joinder agreement? Normally that's Christina's kind of area and she couldn't be here tonight.
Okay.
So essentially it's an agreement between us and the county to have a couple of people here who can help connect our students with systems and supports that are in the community.
Okay. That's a lot
Yeah, and the
simpler than,
county-
Concise
that's a lot
version of- yeah.
simpler
And
than
the
the
county-
explanation on Monday or Tuesday. whatever,
And
but
the
it's
county
okay.
contracts with multiple other counties. So they're like the middleman for that.
This is just like Clinton County. One. I
Right.
think you're referring more to the juvenile detention center. That's
Yes.
multiple counties.
Yeah.
This is just
This
two,
is
like
just,
coming,
yeah,
Lycoming Clinton Joiner is more like a mental health type thing that they help with. So it's between Lycoming and Clinton County do it.
Right.
They do it together. It's just,
Okay. And,
two
and what,
different things you were talking about.
and what are we paying for here?
For the assistance of them coming in and being two staff members.
Oh, okay.
They're coming
It's
down.
supporting their, okay.
Supporting
got
the
it.
students.
Gotcha.
Okay, now there are questions on that? Next up is the enterprise authorized signer. We need to have people authorized to sign for the enterprise bill.
So it used to be Rob, but he's not here. And so since we have a current contract with them, we need to change who the signer is.
Mhm.
And so this is just authorizing us to make that change.
That makes good.
Any questions on that?
Yep.
No? Yes, you have a question?
Oh, no, I said yes, that's good.
All right, thank
Sorry.
you. Next up, 5, the Bucks Basic Insurance Agreement.
I have no idea if this is new, old, I have nothing, I totally don't understand. So please help.
This is a third-party, I guess, company, agency that helps us with unemployment claims. We are not experts at unemployment whatsoever. This really came about, I would say, during COVID, when there was a lot of fraudulent unemployment claims. And so we hired Bucks, it's what, $2,900 to make sure that every claim is a valid claim and that we aren't being taken for fraudulent charges. That we don't, like I said, we aren't the experts. So they go through, they make sure they're all correct. It makes sense that the dates that they're asking for unemployment claims are correct. And then they go ahead and pay the bill and then we pay them. So they have been in place, I would say, since COVID, probably right at the beginning of COVID. And we have found, credibility and value in those services.
Great. Do they do any other services that,
Any questions on that?
well, yes.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you. Is there any other opportunities where we could use a third party and expand using them for something else?
They have a premium service, I mean, but it is $40,000 that we don't really need. We're not.
But what I'm saying is if there's ever any options out there that alleviates staff doing those same things if a third party could do, I mean, I always want to be made aware of it. Is that something that this, maybe you could let us know? What other options they offer? Because if it is $40,000, and obviously if it's something we're already doing in-house, but they could do, maybe that's something we want to look at.
Might be dealing with
Yeah,
contract
so,
issues.
right,
But I'm
we have-
just-
we have to be
just
careful
But I
saying.
know, but just so we know, Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. Go ahead, Bill, I'm sorry.
Do we have a big unemployment problem?
Workman's comp.
We do.
No.
So, clarify your question. Are you saying,
mean-
are we seeing a lot of fraudulent claims? Is that what your
Well,
question?
or any kind of claims at all. I never thought of it. It didn't, just one of those things I overlooked. Is it a big problem?
Unemployment, I heard someone say workman's comp, you're talking unemployment. What's that?
Are you asking if we have a lot of unemployment claims?
Yeah.
We typically don't currently know. No, but we absolutely did during COVID. And if we remember, I might not remember, that we had a period where we furloughed quite a few people and they can hang on for quite a while.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving right along.
Mr. President, I
Go
would
ahead,
like to
Elizabeth.
request that we move to executive session for a personnel issue. Good.
Well, to do that, we have to have a vote.
Mhm.
So would you like to make a motion that we have an executive session for a personnel issue?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and second.
Anything to do with personnel could be important.
Yes, it
We have
does.
a motion and second for an executive session under personnel. Any questions? We have a roll call vote, please.
Baldino,
Yes.
Mr. Cannon. Ms. Donahue. Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Smith. 6 yes.
Okay. Okay, therefore, we'll have an short executive session to deal with a personnel issue. You guys excuse us for a few minutes? I'm sorry.
Would it be easier for us
Would
to
it be
move to
easier
another
Yeah, I was
room?
just gonna say-
We go some,
So we're going to executive session, so I'm going to turn off our camera and microphone.
okay.
Somewhere between.
Tina, you'll be able to get the exact time off of the tape.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, good
Yeah.
thinking. Thank you.
So, again, we're back from the executive session, with approximately 10-minute executive session to deal with a personnel issue. We're gonna be moving right along. We're under J1 personnel. Any questions on J1 personnel? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
The English language learner, paraprofessional, thank you very much. It's a very important position. So here's my question. Maybe the Personnel Committee, Dr. Redmond, Randy, I emailed you some information, another layer for you, that school districts around the country have been using one or two very well vetted services to get staff from other countries to work in public school districts, and they're already vetted. So I would like the school district and the board to consider, we can get presentations from these individuals, but I think we need to come to some consensus. How long are we gonna go with not filling positions and relying on substitute instruction? My tolerance for that is over. So I am very, very, very interested in learning about these companies that find individuals who are highly qualified from overseas to come and work for us. If there's any interest at all, I would really like the board to consider giving administration the reins, look at these companies and come back to us with something. Is there anyone else that would be interested in learning more about those programs or giving the reins to administration so they can start looking at this? Because again, my personal tolerance for these unfulfilled positions is pretty much gone. And it's not the fault of the district. It's a national problem. And it only appears that it's going to be getting worse. So, any interest?
The question I want to start with, how many unfilled positions are you're talking about?
Math,
Professional-
science,
Professional staff or custodian staff, professional staff? How many unfilled
Professional.
professional staff positions do we have currently?
Right now, it's actually in flux. We had a couple of people that we just learned about this week who are asking to move on. So I don't have that number off the top.
sure, but it just seems the math, sciences, it always seems to continue, it seems to be a continual trend and I don't see that changing. And there's been a lot of benefits to have highly qualified staff from other countries to come, especially for the kids.
So it seems as though we're actually doing fairly well. For instance, on the personnel
Sure.
that file there, we were able to find a science and chemistry teacher for Bucktail, and that recommendation is in this.
Mhm.
So I'd have to talk to my staff to
That's
find out a
what-
little
yep,
bit more about
yep.
how much stress we are about some of these positions. I know that some, like a psychologist, for instance, is one that we have a really hard time finding.
Yes.
And I don't know that
I
the
don't-
service you're talking about would be able to provide.
Well, you know
some of
what the
that training.
critical, the ones that keep coming up again and over and over and over again, and where the
Hmm.
substitute teachers are needed, so. But thank you, I'm really happy to see this because with Nicholson meets and it's desperately needed.
Okay, other questions on personnel?
I got one.
Go ahead, Chris.
I keep seeing recurring positions, people leaving the custodial staff.
Mhm.
Are we real heavy on people on that, or do we have,
We're really light on.
are we?
custodians. Yes,
Okay,
we need custodians.
okay. Just curious, that was it.
Why are we losing them? Is it-
Yeah,
is
why
it
are
a
they
salary
leaving like
thing?
they are?
I don't know that I have a complete answer. Some of it is about salary.
So
Okay.
Any other questions? Nope. K1, athletics and student activities personnel. Any questions under K1?
Good.
L1, there's nothing under curricular, co-curricular.
Motion. to
Mr. President, I'd
adjourn.
like to make a motion
I
to
just
adjourn.
did it. I beat you.
Okay.
Fine, I'll second
We have a
it.
motion by Chris, second by Roger to adjourn. We'll see everyone next
Sorry,
week.
buddy.
Yeah, I'll get you next time.
Okay, thank you everyone for showing up. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
For the board,
I'm gonna turn this off.
yes, thank you.